What's up y'all? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello and welcome to today's video. I have the new Pat McGrath Mothership 12 Petalmorphosis palette to share with y'all today. Now listen, I know that I am wildly late to the game with this palette, but mine showed up a few days later than it was expected to, and then work and life got in the way, so I'm just now finding the time to actually sit down and play with this palette. And honestly, I thought about not filming with it at all because I know that everybody and their mother has a video up with this palette at this point. I know it, I see it, even my feed has been flooded with videos on this palette, but I'm really excited about this palette. I love the packaging. In fact, I got mine in the limited edition lavender packaging. I think the color story is absolutely beautiful in here, and like I said, I am really excited to play with this palette. So what is one more video for you to watch if you want to? But another thing that I thought I could bring to the table is maybe a different insight on this palette. I am not a Pat McGrath connoisseur. I have not been following the brand since its conception. I do not have every single Mothership palette. In fact, I think this is my fourth one that I have in my collection. So I'm not the person that's going to be able to give you all these comparisons to past palettes, let you know about her formula, changes, and things like that. I am here to give you my thoughts on this palette as a standalone luxury eyeshadow palette. So maybe it's something you're interested in, maybe it's not. Either way, I will have everything listed and linked down below in the description box for y'all. We are going to do some live swatches, we are going to create a look together, and I will give you some of my first initial impression thoughts at the end of the video. So we're gonna go ahead and actually kick things off with the live swatches. So we're gonna switch to an overhead view and get this party started. All right, y'all, so here she is, our beautiful Mothership palette, and as always, this is a 10-pan palette, and in here you are going to get two matte shades, and then you're going to have this one right here, which is a matte with sparkles in it. I'm hoping that the camera is picking that up, and then everything else in here is going to be a shimmer formula. This is made in Italy, and it does have an 18-month shelf life, but we're going to go ahead and swatch this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go left to right, top to bottom, so I'm just going to go this way all the way across, and I will let you know what the shade name is and what the formula is. So I'm just going to kind of move this out of the way so I can get a better view and swatch this out a little bit easier. So the first shade that we have is going to be Divine Dawn, and this is going to be a really pretty metallic shade. So we're going to go ahead and swatch this one out right here on my wrist. That has a really pretty kind of rosy undertone to it. I think it's absolutely beautiful, very smooth, just very metallic-y. And the next one that we have is going to be Nocturnal Bloom, and it's going to be this matte green shade right here that felt very smooth when I picked it up, and we'll see how it swatches out. Now keep in mind, swatches do not tell the whole story. Sometimes they can swatch a little bit patchy and then look beautiful on the lids, and then sometimes they can swatch absolutely beautifully and then be patchy on the lids. But that is a really pretty kind of forest green shade. I do really like the way that one looks. But our next matte shade is going to be Twilight Lilac, and it's this really pretty kind of purpley shade right here. So let's swatch that one out. Again, very soft, very smooth, nice and pigmented. I didn't have to pick up a whole lot to get that beautiful swatch. Up next we have the shade Astral Iridescent Iris, and I don't know if it's going to pick it up, but this has like the most beautiful kind of blue and purple sparkles in it with like a translucent base to it. I will throw in some b-roll of some other swatches, like some close-ups, different lighting, so maybe you can get a better view. But look at how pretty that is. That's going to make a gorgeous topper, inner quarter highlight, brow bone, even probably a highlighter, I think, and we'll probably try that out as well. But next we have the shade Cosmic Fantasies, and it's gonna be this really pretty kind of deep purple sparkly shade. Like, look at that. Oh, I'm really excited about that one. It's almost like a black base, but it's more of like a blackened brown base to it. Very smooth yet again. None of these have felt chunky or anything like that. And then we have the shade Lone Star Nectar, and this is going to be that matte with sparkles in it. So I'm assuming as you sort of fluff it out, those sparkles will go away, but if you were to really pack it onto the lid, you can see a little bit of those sparkles. I can definitely see it on my wrist wherever I swatched it out, but I like the contrast of the three sort of matte leaning shades that we have. I will probably use this one more so as a matte. I think it gives a little bit of depth to the palette. Of course, you can always bring in other things if you want to. Our next shade though is going to be Astral Eden Envy, and this I think is one of my favorite shades in this palette. I think that is so incredibly beautiful. It's almost like the chartreusey shade, but it has a little bit of a deeper base to it. Very sparkly, very reflective. It almost looks like it has a flip to it, but it's not a multi-chrome or anything like that. Next we have Blitz Radiant Rhapsody, which is this really pretty green shimmer shade. very smooth, very soft. I will say I've noticed that these don't feel as, I guess, thin in texture as some of her previous Astral shades. I believe that these are now formulated a little bit different. They're not baked like they were before. I don't know the reasoning behind all that. Like I said, I am not a Pat McGrath connoisseur, but I can tell just based off of the palettes that I do have that these really sparkly ones definitely feel a little bit different. But we have 2 more shades left to swatch out, and the first one is going to be Astral Sunset Splendor, and it's going to be this really pretty kind of peachy pinky shade right here. So let's swatch that one right there. Oh, that's really pretty as well. I really like that shade. It's a little bit lighter as far as the base goes, but very sparkly, very smooth yet again. And the last shade that we have in this palette is going to be Blitz Bronze Supernova. And this one, ooh, that's really pretty. That's a little bit deeper, but I think that's a really pretty shade. Ooh, I like that. Just a true bronze shade. Very, very pretty. So that is going to be all of the shades that we have in this palette. Like I said, I will throw in some more swatches so you can get better views and everything, but everything is swatched out really nicely. Nothing's felt super chunky, dry, gritty, or anything like that. The mattes all felt very smooth and very kind of silky and nice and pigmented. Alright y'all, so per usual, my eyes are primed and ready to go with my MAC paint pot in the shade Painterly, and I've decided I'm going to go ahead and just create 2 different looks with this palette and try and use every single shade today. So for the first look, I'm going to go ahead and start with this shade right here, which is called Lunar Nectar, and I'm going to go ahead and pick that up with a Rephr 16 brush, and I'm just going to start to kind of build up my crease a little bit. I'm probably going to do the same step for both looks, but we're just going to do one look at a time. So I'm just going to kind of fluff this right here into my crease. That is very pigmented. I did not pick up a whole lot of that shade at all, so I'm just going to kind of work it out and disperse it and kind of soften it a little bit more, just kind of giving me more of a transition. But this is going on really nicely. I'm not getting any patching, skipping, fallout. It's performing beautifully, and I'm really liking the formula so far. Like I said, I don't have a lot of experience with the formula as far as Pat McGrath goes, but the palettes that I have played with, I do really enjoy the formula. I feel like it's pretty consistent, at least in my opinion. Is it anything compared to like my Indie and C Beauty palettes that I have in my collection? No, the formula in those is just unmatched in my opinion. They're gonna outperform high-end and luxury every single time, and the price point is a little bit easier of a pill to swallow, although I will say Indie palettes are definitely getting up there in price, so it's really just kind of give and take as to what you're looking for, because I mean, this is definitely like heavy luxurious. It's definitely all in the experience as far as this goes, so you know, it just kind of is what it is. But so far, performance wise, this is going on absolutely beautifully. Okay, let's pop into our next shade. So for that, I want to go into this more kind of lilac-y leaning shade up here, which is called Twisted Lilac, or Twilight Lilac. I can't read apparently. I'm going to go ahead and pick that shade up with a Rephr 15 brush, and I'm going to start to kind of build up my outer corner a little bit. So I'm just going to pack that shade right out here. Again, nice and pigmented, no fallout, very easy to kind of blend out and build into that first shade that I put down. And I'm gonna kind of wing it out a little bit over here, creating a little bit more shape. And I think I'm gonna bring that down onto my lower lash line as well, but I don't know if I wanna bring it all the way across. So I'm gonna start with like halfway and see what I wanna do from there. I might go back in with that first shade and bring it across the rest of my lower lash line. Okay, so I'm going back in with a little bit more of that very first shade and just bringing it on the inner portion of my lower lash line, just kind of blending and buffing, and then I'm very lightly going to take whatever is left on that brush and just kind of soften it out here on my outer corner, and then go right along the edge and just make sure that everything is nice and softly buffed and blown out, and we don't have any harsh lines, and everything just kind of blends together really nicely. So for all over the lid, I want to go in with this shade right here, which is called Astral Sunset Splendor, and I want to put that one all over the lid. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of it on my finger, and I'm just going to put this all over my lid. I do have my lid primed with my NYX Glitter Primer per usual. I'm just going to kind of press this all over, kind of focusing it more so on the very center of the lid. I don't want to bring it all the way over to my inner corner or all the way over to my outer corner, because I do want to play with as many shades in this palette as I possibly can. And now that I'm looking looking at this, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to every single shade, but we are going to try our hardest. But that is really, really pretty. I like how sparkly that is. It's a little bit more subdued, so for me personally, it's definitely a little bit more of like that everyday wearable shade that I can wear to work without feeling like it's too colorful or anything that I'm going to kind of get a slap on the wrist for, have you? But let's just kind of keep blending this in, and then I'm going to go in with something else and kind of blend the outer corner and the inner corner together. Okay, so next I'm going to go in with this shade right here, which is called Cosmic Fantasies, and I'm going to focus this on more so the outer portion of my lid. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a little bit of that up on my finger and just kind of press it right here where that matte and that shimmer shade meet, just to give me a nice seamless flow from the outer corner all the way over to the inner corner. That is going together really nicely, but I think I'm going to take a little bit more of that very first shade and just kind of soften it a little bit more. Yeah, I like that a whole lot better, but that is really, really pretty. I like those two shades together. I think they look beautiful on the lid. All right, so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this shade right here, which is called Astral Iridescent Iris, and I'm going to put that on the inner corner and kind of tap it right in the center. And I also want to use it as a highlighter as well because it has that really pretty transparent base to it. So I'm going to go ahead and start by picking it up with my finger and just kind of tap it right here in the very center of the lid, giving me a little bit of a spotlight moment going on. Look at that. That really amped up the intensity with this look. But I'm going to go back and pick up a little bit more with my pinky and just pop it right here in the very inner corner and kind of bring it down onto the lower lash line just a little bit, kind of wrapping it around in there. This would be beautiful all over the lid as well. All right, so I went ahead and picked up a little bit of that shade with my Singe Beauty F06 brush, and I'm just gonna put a little bit right here on my cheek as sort of like a highlighter moment. Now it's definitely going to be a little glittery and sparkly, but it does look really pretty on the cheek since it has that translucent base to it, and it's not emphasizing texture. I feel like when I look straight ahead, you don't really see it, and then when I turn my face, it's kind of like, bam, here she is. But I think that looks really pretty. You could really kind of use this to amp up your look if maybe you're going out after work, or maybe you just want to add a little extra sparkle to your face without, you know, investing in another sort of highlighter or anything like that. I do think this is really pretty, but let me kind of balance out my cheeks real quick, and then we are going to move on to the other eye and create that look before I finish everything up with liner and mascara. All right, so for the second look, I'm gonna go ahead and start with this same shade right here, which is called Lunar Nectar. I'm gonna pick that up once again with my same Rephr 16 brush that I used in the first look. And like I said, when I start out that one, I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm just gonna kind of build up my crease a little bit, giving me a little bit of depth and definition and more of a transition shade to start off this look. Okay, so now I'm going to go into this matte green shade down here, which is called Nocturnal Bloom, and I'm going to pick that up with a Rephr 01 brush, and I'm going to start to build up my outer corner, basically doing the same thing that I did in the first look, just with a different shade. So I'm going to pick that up right here. I'm going to start by pressing it on my outer corner. Now I'm really curious as to see if this is going to patch up on me, give me any fallout, if it's going to be difficult to build up and blend out, and so far it is nice and pigmented. I don't see where I'm getting any fallout on my lower lash line, but I will say a little bit goes a long way. So I'm just going to keep packing it out here and kind of building up my shape and kind of blending it into that first shade that I put down. And I think like once I get a little further over, I'm going to start kind of dispersing it just a little bit to have it kind of fade over in my crease. I'm not worried about what's going on my lid because I am going to put a shimmer over top of that. I'm more so focused on what's going on like on the outer perimeter, my outer corner, than I am all over the lid. Like it's just going to be what it is. It'll get covered up, not a big deal. But this is a really pretty green shade. Honestly, I was afraid that this is going to be too deep for me to really utilize more so than just a little bit of depth in the outer corner or a liner. I was afraid it was really going to be way too deep for my fair skin, but I do think it blends out and softens really nicely. So I think if you were to go in super light-handed, you could really kind of soften it up even more and build it up if you wanted to. All right, I am going to go ahead and bring that down to my lower lash line as well. And I think I'm going to bring it almost all the way across. I'm going to kind of stop like right here and leave my inner corner open so I can go in with maybe one of those shimmers in there and give a little bit of lightness and brightness. Okay, so once again, I went ahead and primed my lids with my NYX glitter primer, and for all over the lid, I'm trying to decide exactly what I want to do with these 3 shades. I don't think I'm going to be able to utilize all 3 of these in my look just because I don't think as a trio they go together. I think like those 2 go together, or those 2 go together, or even maybe like those 2 go together, but the 3 of them, I don't think so. And I think I'm more interested in playing with the 2 green shades than I am putting this bronze on the lid, so I'll definitely have to do another look with this palette. But I'm gonna go ahead and start with, I think, this chartreusey green shade right here, which is called Astral Eden Envy. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that all over my lid. So I'm just gonna pick up a little bit more and just kind of press this all over my lid. And I am gonna bring it over to that inner corner as well, but I'm not gonna bring it all the way into the inner corner because there is another shade in here that I do wanna pop in that inner corner. But look at how pretty that is. Oh, I think that's absolutely beautiful. I really love that shade, but I love a good chartreusey green shade. And what I like about this one is I feel like it's really unique in my collection. I don't think I have anything else quite this deep and murky, yet still kind of bright and vibrant at the same time. All right, so now I'm gonna go into this other green shade, which is called Blitz Radiant Rhapsody. And I'm gonna put it sort of on my outer portion of my lid where that matte and that shimmer shade come together, just to give me a little bit more of like a blend out here and kind of a pop of color to blend everything together. That looks really pretty. That color is stunning. It's almost got like this Wizard of Oz Emerald City greenness to it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I do really like that shade. I think all the shimmers in this palette are beautiful in my opinion. To finish this look off, I want to go in with this shade right here and put it on my inner corner and maybe a little bit up on my brow bone as well. That shade is called Divine Dawn. So I'm going to go ahead and pick it up with this Rephr 14 brush. I am going to spray it with just a little bit of MAC Fix Plus just so I can make sure I don't get any fallout or anything like that going into this tiny little space in my inner corner. And then we're just going to kind of pop it on there. So I'm going to spritz it and then just kind of spray it right here and kind of blend it up onto my lid and down onto my lower lash line, making sure that I don't have just like this blob of that shade right there on the very inner corner. And I'm gonna take whatever is left on my brush and kind of go right up here on my brow bone, just giving me a little extra sparkle up there. Oh, that's really pretty. I have not done a brow bone highlight in years. The last time I probably did one was whenever that was the thing to do. Like, it was a thing if I missed that in my makeup routine. I always had a brow bone highlight and I haven't thought about it in years, but that does look really pretty. It almost has like this wet effect on the lid. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Alright y'all, so this is the 2 completed looks now that I have on liner and mascara, and I love the way that both of these looks turned out. I love that the greens are a little bit dark and smoky, but the purples are a little bit light and airy. Both looks are perfect for spring. I love that I was able to get 2 monochromatic looks with this palette, but I do want to create a look bringing the purples and the greens together, and I'll definitely do so in either a short or a get ready with me. I haven't decided which one yet. We'll see how things pan out, but let's go over what I used to finish off these 2 looks so we can turn the lights down and of course see the shimmer, the shift, the sparkle, and close out this video with some of my first initial impression thoughts. So to line my lids for both the lower waterline and the lid, I just went in with some Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal liners, which are my absolute favorites. For the purple look, I went in with the shade Fig, and for the green look, I went in with the shade Olive, and then for mascara, I went in with the L'Oreal Paradise Big Deal Mascara. Alright y'all, so as always, I want to close out this video with some of my first initial impression thoughts on this palette. So starting with the packaging, it's exactly what I expect from a Pat McGrath Mothership palette. It is heavy, it is weighty, it is very luxurious feeling in my hand, and I love the outer packaging. I think it's insanely gorgeous, and I love that the packaging matches the color story in the palette to a T. As far as the lavender packaging goes, I love it. I know there's been a lot of mixed kind of thoughts about the black versus the lavender, and I'm not going to disagree with you. I definitely think that the color story pops just a little bit more against the black, but I personally like it in the lavender as well. I'm not disappointed, and I don't feel any less inspired reaching into this palette with the lavender packaging. With that said, keep in mind the lavender is limited edition, and as of now it is sold out on the Pat McGrath website, but it does say coming soon next to it, so that leads me to believe it is coming back, but don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure. This palette is also available on the Sephora website as well, so if you haven't picked it up already and you are interested in it, I would wait about a week or so because the Sephora Spring Savings event is coming up, and if you are a VIB, you can get 20% off, and then if you're Rouge, I think it's 15%, and if you're an Insider, it's 10%, so you can definitely save a little bit of money on this palette, and in my opinion, I think it's 100% worth it. But as far as the color story in here goes, I think it's beautiful. This is a very me color story. I find it to be very inspiring. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it's nothing new, it's nothing innovative. We have definitely seen this color story before. In fact, Cryptine just launched a palette with a very similar color story to this. They have impeccable quality as well. I did not pick that one up because I picked this one up, but if you want the same color story with a fantastic formula at a cheaper price point, I would highly recommend that one. I'm sure the formula there is insanely beautiful, but this is all about the experience, and I definitely got the experience with this one. I am not disappointed at all. I think the formula in here is beautiful. I found the mattes to be very easy to work with, and I was actually really impressed with this green one overall. I thought it was going to be way too dark for my fair skin, and while it is very dark, I was pleasantly surprised how I was able to kind of buffen out and soften it just a little bit more on the lid. But these three shades right here that I'm considering mattes, yes, this one as well with the sparkles in it because I use it like a matte, I didn't have any issues with any of them. They all performed beautifully, no patching, no skipping, no fallout, nice pigmentation, very easy to work with. The shimmers I think are absolutely beautiful in this palette. I know the formula is different than what she's given us in the past, but I still think it's absolutely beautiful. They are sparkly, they're reflective on the lid, very smooth. They didn't emphasize texture. I didn't get any fallout with them either, and I like the versatility of the shimmers in here. While we only have 3 mattes, I feel like you can get a lot of variety with your looks because of the different shimmers in this palette, and this one I thought looked beautiful as a highlighter on my cheek. This one I think would make a beautiful highlighter as well. It looks very unassuming in the pan, but on my brow bone, it almost has this kind of wet effect to it, so I think it would make a beautiful highlighter. And this shade I think would make a really pretty blush topper. So like I said, there's a lot of versatility for the way that I do my makeup and my preferences and my skin tone when it comes to this palette. So overall, I'm not disappointed. I am very happy with my purchase. And do I recommend it? I do. If you like the color story, you like Pat McGrath, and you like luxury makeup, absolutely. But keep in mind, I am never here to convince you to purchase anything. I am here to help you with your future purchasing decisions. But that is going to complete this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Let me know if you're a Pat McGrath connoisseur and what your thoughts are on this palette, what your favorite Mothership palette is, which look was your favorite. If you plan on picking it up, I want to know it all. Let's have that conversation. Light up that comment section. And as always, I want to thank you all so much for watching my video and spending your time with me. It truly does mean so much to me. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up before you leave. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that notification bell so that you can be notified of all my future posts here on my channel. I do post quite a few videos a week. Well, again, not like I used to, but I do still post quite a few videos every single week. And until my next video, have a good one. Bye.